Hello, this is Angelia with today's wisdom. Today's wisdom comes from Daily Ohm, What We See, Judging Others. Though it is human to evaluate people we encounter based on first impressions, the conclusions we come to are seldom unaffected by our own fears and our own preconceptions. So your psyche colors everything that you come across in the world. And that's just a sad fact. Additionally, our judgments are frequently incomplete. Because if you see a person in one little situation, that's not how they are all the time. They might have had a bad day and they're angry. And so, in that one situation, they might not have acted great. But that might not be who they are on a regular basis. So, you're only seeing a little piece of the picture, a little piece of the puzzle that makes up their personality. For example, wealth can seem like proof that an individual is spoiled, and poverty can be seen as a signifier of laziness, neither of which may be true. Because a rich person can work very hard to get rich, or there are some rich people who are philanthropists, and they're not spoiled, and they don't spend a ton of money on themselves. And there are poor people who are not lazy, who go, from the time they get up and start going, and they just find themselves in situations where they cannot overcome no matter how much they try. At least the heart of the tendency to categorize and criticize, we often find insecurity. So if you're feeling insecure about yourself in any way, you can project that onto other people. You can judge other people harshly because, you feel a lack here in yourself. And oftentimes we can project that lack onto other people. We don't even realize we're doing it, but we can. So next time you feel like you're putting negative things on people, negative labels, check yourself. Check if not, if the core of yourself doesn't feel like there's a little bit of that in you. Or, maybe you wish there were something that another person has in you, and so you're a little bit jealous. Overcoming our need to set ourselves apart from what we fear is a matter of understanding the root of judgment and then reaffirming our commitment to tolerance. And that's would make the world such a better place if we all just tolerated each other. Now, I'm not saying let people get away with evil, bad deeds, because that's why you have laws. That's why you have, spiritual laws that, to keep everyone safe and, not doing things that will cause us to be unsafe. When we catch ourselves thinking or behaving judgmentally, we should ask ourselves where these judgments come from. And 9 times out of 10, they came from your parents, and theirs came from their parents, and their parents, and on back. Or you might have had a bad experience with a certain type of person, or, a certain place. And so that colors your perception of all people like this, or all places like this. And that's intolerant. That's you putting a label on people, places, or things. Traits we hope we do not possess can instigate our criticism when we see them in others, because passing judgment distances us from those traits. So, like I said, you might see a little bit of yourself in that, but that you don't like that, so you're going to distance yourself by saying mean things about this other person. Once we regain our center, we can reinforce our open-mindedness by putting our feelings into words. And like I said, if we were all a little more open-minded, the world would be a better place. It's none of my business, what they're doing in the house next door. And it shouldn't be any of their business what I'm doing over here in this house. And if we all kind of kept it that way, the world would be a better place. And again, when we are expressing our feelings, we can put them into words and, ask questions. That's the best way we learn things, is asking questions. Don't assume. It happens when you assume. To acknowledge to ourselves that we have judged and that we have identified the root of our judgments is the first step to a path of compassion. Because when you stop judging other people, you can have compassion for them. You know, there are people who have legit mental, physical problems, and that's why they are in the situation they're in. And the best way to do that is not to label them, but to have compassion for them. You know, put yourself in their shoes. We was talking about that the other day, walking my own people's shoes. And realize that people are people, and, you know, what would Jesus do? Would Jesus have compassion on them, or would Jesus label them? Think about that. Recognizing that we limit our awareness by assessing others critically can make moving past our initial impressions much easier. So, you know, if you know you're guilty of that because your mom or your dad or your grandma or grandpa was guilty of that, and you kind of caught that from them, because I say caught because bad behaviors are like a virus, man. They just can travel on from person to person. But when you let go of that, and you can start looking at things as they are, not as your, you know, psyche colors them, then you can start seeing a little more. Judgments seldom leave room for alternate possibilities. So if you're judging somebody and labeling somebody, then that doesn't leave the room for them to actually be something other than what you said. And I know people like that. You know, they decide this person is this, and then they deal with that person based on that. And that's not right, because not, you know, every aspect of a person is this one thing. Mother Teresa said, if you judge people, you don't have time to love them. And that's true. If you're flinging out judgments and labels on people, you don't have time to love them. You don't have love in your heart. You don't have compassion for others. So if we are quick to pass judgment on others, we forget that they, like us, are human beings. And we are. We're all in the same boat. You know, some of us have had easy lives. Some of us have hard lives. But if you're passing judgment on others because you've had an easier life, and think, well, you know, I'd have just done this or that, you know, you don't know. You weren't in that situation. You don't know what you would have done. So, you know, stop passing judgment on others and think about, you know, what they've been through and what their situation is. As we seldom know what, roads people have traveled before a shared encounter or while they have come into our lives, we should always give these we meet the gift of an open heart. And that's what I tell people, you know, about, you know, why would you let anybody like this or this back? And I say, I come to people not expecting anything, open-hearted, until they show me who they are and that they don't deserve to be in my life. You give people the benefit of the doubt. Doing so allows us to replace fear-based criticism with appreciation, because we can then focus wholeheartedly on the spark of good that burns in all human souls. And our souls came from Creator. And if Creator is good, that means your soul has to be good. You know? There's, I think as Marianne Williamson said, love is what we're born with. Fear is the thing we have to overcome here on earth to get back to love. So when you're looking at others, think about whether you're judging them fairly or not. Think about it. That's all for now.